In the summer of 1986, four close friends, JJ, Peter, David, and Fat Boy, set out on a thrilling journey filled with excitement. The backdrop of their adventure was their neighborhood, a place they knew well, with its streets and corners holding years of shared memories. The four of them shared a bond that was strengthened by their shared experiences and the familiarity of their surroundings. Their bicycles were more than just modes of transportation. They were symbols of the freedom they felt when cruising through the streets. Each bicycle was unique, adorned with personal touches that showcased the personalities of its rider. These bikes, often parked outside each friend's home, acted as a sort of unspoken communication among them, a secret language that indicated where someone was and where they were headed. The sight of a bike leaned against a stoop became a reassuring sign that one of their crew was nearby, ready for an adventure or a spontaneous meetup. With a sense of camaraderie, the group developed an unspoken routine. Each morning they'd embark on their individual journeys, each knowing where to find the others. As they pedaled through their neighborhood, passing corner stores, vacant houses, and bustling streets, the familiar sights served as the backdrop to their bond. The air buzzed with the anticipation of shared escapades, the promise of discovery, and the thrill of the unexpected. The goal of the day was clear. They had 8 hours until the streetlights came on, signaling their curfew. Eagerly, they pedaled on, anticipating the escapades that awaited them. After navigating through the urban landscape, the crew finally reached Fat Boy's house. Terrence, or Fat Boy as they affectionately called him, was found munching on a sandwich on his stoop. Laughter erupted as they teased him about his insatiable appetite. Amid the banter, JJ, the natural leader of the group, inquired if everyone was ready for their adventure. With sandwiches finished and final nods of agreement exchanged, they were ready to set out. Before they could depart, however, Fat Boy took a moment to shout up to his second-story window to inform his mother of their plans. A stern voice from above reminded him to be home for dinner and not to be late. With reassurances called up and a mischievous grin, Fat Boy confirmed his commitment to making it back on time. And so, their journey began. The crew pedaled away from the neighborhood, leaving behind the familiarity of their homes and the watchful eyes of their families. Their bikes carried them through the city's twists and turns as they ventured into new territories and discovered hidden pockets of excitement. The hours seemed to fly by as they shared stories, laughed, and immersed themselves in the thrill of exploration. However, as the sun began to sink lower in the sky, a sense of urgency began to creep in. The realization that they might not have enough time to return home before the streetlights illuminated the sidewalks added an element of tension to their adventure. They sped through their remaining escapades, a mix of exhilaration and concern driving them forward. As the first streetlight flickered to life, casting a warm glow on the pavement, panic set in. The boys exchanged quick glances, their heartbeats matching the rhythm of their racing bikes. With a sense of impending danger, they knew they had to hurry back home. The return journey was a blur of hurried pedal strokes, each streetlight serving as a reminder that time was running out. Fearful of what awaited them after dark, they raced through the dimming streets, desperately trying to reach their neighborhood before it was too late. Just as they approached the familiar streets of their neighborhood, the sky took on an eerie twilight hue, and the first hints of darkness settled in. Panic pushed them to pedal harder, their breaths coming in rapid gasps. Finally reaching their neighborhood, they pulled up to the curb, panting and sweating, their faces etched with relief. But the sense of triumph was short-lived. As the streetlights illuminated the scene, a haunting transformation occurred. The streets that were once familiar now held an unsettling, almost zombie-like atmosphere. Figures emerged from the shadows, their movements unnatural and eerie. The crew's jubilation turned to dread as they realized the danger they were in. In the face of this new threat, the group instinctively split up, each member darting in a different direction. As they sprinted through the labyrinth of their neighborhood, their breathless cries for one another echoed in the air. Reuniting later, the surviving members of the crew pieced together the horrifying truth. Fat Boy and David were missing, and their absence was ominous. The once thrilling adventure had turned into a nightmare, as the possibility that their friends had been turned into something unimaginable loomed over them. Fear and determination intertwined as JJ and Peter faced the grim reality that their friends might now be among the zombie-like figures that emerged with the darkness. The battle for survival had taken a dire turn, setting the stage for an even more intense and harrowing journey ahead. As the chilling realization of their predicament settled in, the remaining members of the crew, JJ and Peter, found themselves hiding in the shadows, their breaths shallow and hearts racing. They strained their ears, listening for any sound that might indicate their friends' whereabouts or the presence of those haunting figures. Time seemed to stretch as they waited in silence, the darkness deepening around them. JJ's mind raced, his thoughts consumed by concern for Fatboy and David. His grip on the handlebars of his bicycle tightened, the metallic sensation grounding him in the midst of uncertainty. Suddenly, a faint rustling echoed from a nearby alleyway. The two friends exchanged wary glances, their eyes wide with anticipation. Then, like specters emerging from the night, figures slowly emerged from the shadows. JJ's heart skipped a beat as he squinted to make out their features. Among the figures, he spotted a familiar silhouette. It was David, his posture tense, moving with a disjointed gait that sent shivers down JJ's spine. Relief flooded through him as he whispered to Peter, "Look, it's David, he's okay." Peter's expression remained skeptical as he watched the scene unfold. The figures seemed to gather, forming an unsettling circle. JJ's focus remained fixed on David, whose gaze was locked onto his friends. In a strained voice, he called out, "Guys, it's me, I'm not one of them, I promise." David's words hung in the air, a mixture of desperation and determination. JJ's heart ached at the sight of his friend's distress, but a nagging sense of doubt gnawed at him. Peter's grip on his bike handle tightened, mirroring the tension in the atmosphere. As David continued to plead, JJ's resolve wavered. He turned to Peter, uncertainty clouding his eyes. Peter's expression remained guarded, suspicion etched into his features. "JJ, we can't be sure. We've seen how quickly things change." David's pleas grew more fervent, his voice cracking with emotion. "You have to believe me. I found a way to fight them off. I'm not like them." His eyes darted between JJ and Peter, his face a mixture of fear and hope. The air was thick with tension as the seconds ticked by. JJ and Peter exchanged another hesitant glance, the weight of their decision palpable. A sense of loyalty warred with the reality of the situation. Then, just as a glimmer of trust began to take root, a guttural growl cut through the night. The figures around David shifted, their movements becoming more deliberate, more predatory. Panic surged through JJ and Peter as they realized the horrifying truth. The figures were converging on David. In that moment of realization, David's facade crumbled. His expression contorted, and he let out a chilling, otherworldly shriek. His transformation was swift and terrifying, limbs contorting into unnatural angles as he lunged at the other figures. His once familiar face twisted into a grotesque mask of hunger. Horror and grief collided within JJ as he watched his friends succumb to the very threat they had feared. Peter's shocked gasp echoed in the darkness. The battle for survival had escalated beyond their control, and they were faced with a grim new reality. As the night pressed on, the remaining members of the crew were left grappling with their losses, their once bonded group now irrevocably fractured. The struggle against the encroaching darkness had become not only a battle for survival against the zombie-like figures, but a battle against the erosion of trust, hope, and the innocence of their childhood. The events of that fateful summer would forever be etched into their memories, serving as a reminder of the fragility of their world and the lengths they would go to protect what remained. In the midst of chaos and despair, JJ and Peter would learn the true meaning of courage, sacrifice, and the unbreakable ties that bind friends together, even in the face of unimaginable horrors.